Hello, I'm Monica Haldar and welcome to The Secrets of How to Cook Indian Food, where I'll be bringing you the tips, tricks and techniques that you need to cook delicious Indian dishes at home. 10 years ago, I started a pop-up Indian restaurant from home with my mum. I now run 2 Indian cookery schools where I teach my students face-to-face and online exactly how to cook delicious Indian food from their home kitchens. I now can't wait to share some of this knowledge with you. In episode 1, I taught you how to make the master masala. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to use that masala to make your very first curry. A lamb and spinach curry that we call palak gosht. This is a North Indian recipe and is deemed as a bit of a celebratory dish in Indian homes. It's packed full of flavour, and when served with something like hot buttery naans, you'll be in comfort food heaven. So let's talk about the lamb first. I've got a leg of lamb here. I've asked the butcher to cut it up into small pieces. That's important. If you can cut it up into smaller chunks, it will cook quicker. Another way of making sure that your lamb cooks nice and quickly and that it turns into melt-in-mouth lamb is to tenderize it, and that's by means of marinating it, okay? I've also got bone-in meat here, which A, helps with cooking it quicker as well, but B, brings so much flavour to this dish, and Indians really prefer cooking lamb on the bone or any meat curry on the bone. We don't really appreciate boneless lamb curries, and we see that a lot in restaurants, but when we're talking about home-style Indian food and home-style meat curries, it's often on the bone. Let's talk about the marination. It's very simple. First thing is salt. Obviously, we need to season our lamb. The master masala is already seasoned, but you want to make sure that when you bite into the chunks of lamb that they've got flavour as well, so we'll use some salt. Next thing is yogurt. This is a natural meat tenderizer, so that's important to add into our marination. And the last thing, to make sure that your lamb really is melt in mouth, falling off the bone, is to use my secret ingredient, which is actually kiwi paste. So to create that, I've just peeled the kiwi and used a fork to mash it down. Kiwi has an enzyme that helps to break down those muscle fibers in the meat. In India, they actually use raw papaya paste, but we don't get that here in the West quite as easily. So kiwi does exactly the same thing. It's very neutral tasting, so you can't even tell it's in the marination, but works a treat for accelerating the cooking process and cooks your lamb until tender very, very quickly. So let's add all of these ingredients into our lamb. So we've got 1/2 kilogram of lamb here. To this, we're going to add a level teaspoon of salt. We're also going to add in our yogurt. So we've got 3 tablespoons of yogurt, and you can use any variety. Next, we've got our kiwi paste, and this is just paste from 1 whole kiwi. So I'm going to use my hands to mix everything together. If you don't like the idea of handling raw meat, you can use a disposable glove or a spoon, but using your fingers just really helps to spread that marination evenly. So with this marination, the longer you can keep your meat marinating, the better. So anywhere up to 24 hours is amazing. I often do it the night before I want to cook it, and that will ensure that your lamb is really, really full flavoured. But of course, if you want to make it straight away, you can do as well. Okay, so just washed my hands. We're now ready to move on to the next step. Now, if you want, we talked about the master masala, which we made in episode 1. You can actually just combine the 2 together and finish it off in the oven. But I'm going to take it up to the next stage in terms of flavour. And we're going to seal the lamb first in some whole spices and then add the master masala and then put it in the oven. Sealing the lamb in some spices first really boosts the flavour level. So optional step, but I'm going to suggest that you definitely do it if you want something that is really memorable and absolutely delicious. So I'm going to get a pan nice and hot. This is an oven-proof pan and also has a lid. So ideally, to save upon washing, you might want to go with a pan like that. So we're going to add about 6 to 7 tablespoons of oil into this. You can use whatever oil you like. Okay, we're going to get this nice and hot. And we're then going to add in our whole spices. So this is optional, and if you don't have all of the spices, do not worry. Do make sure that your oil is nice and hot before you add your spices to it. You'll hear me saying that over and over again, but it is really important. That feels about perfect. So now we're gonna work quickly. We've got 3 dried chilies that I'm gonna pop in, followed by 3 green cardamoms, which I've already crushed, 1 black cardamom, 8 peppercorns, about 3 centimeters of cinnamon or cassia bark, a couple of fresh bay leaves, but you can use dried, and we're going to do a teaspoon of cumin seed. So if you don't have all of these, do not worry, just put in what you have. We're going to give this a good mix, and now we're going to add in our lamb. So again, there might be a bit of splashback, so just be careful. And there we go, all of that lovely lamb in our pan. I'm also going to use a spatula to get all of this good stuff out. I've got this on a medium to high heat. Keep your lamb moving in the pan and just make sure that it doesn't catch at any point. Your kitchen should now be filled with the most incredible aroma of that lamb being sealed in those whole spices. So the lamb is now completely sealed, the water's evaporated. If at any point throughout that sealing process you find that your lamb is catching, just add a tiny splash of water and reduce your heat. I'm also going to add in some potatoes. I've got a small potato here, about 100 grams. I've just cut it into some small rough chunks and I've kept the skin on, gave it a good wash. And we're just going to pop this into the pan. The combination of lamb and potatoes is absolutely delicious. That nice sort of creaminess of the potatoes with the masala and the lamb, it's really, really beautiful. Optional, but I do encourage that you add the potatoes in. Give that a good mix. And now we're gonna add our master masala. So at this point, we wanna just bring our temperature of the pan down to sort of low to medium. And we're going to add in about 300 to 400 grams of the masala. If you like your curries to be quite rich, I'd probably say to go about 400 grams. If you like them a little bit lighter, maybe less. I'm going to treat this like a party dish, so I'm going to want it quite rich. So I'm going to add about 400 grams of the masala in here. And you can smell how flavorful that is. So all of this is going to go in. Now that's in, I'm going to give this a quick mix. So like I said, if you wanted to, you could have just added the master masala to the marinated lamb and just mix this together very quickly, which would be very speedy. But what we've done by sealing the lamb in that meat, then adding the potatoes and then the masala, we've just boosted the flavor level of this dish. So it depends on how much time you have. If you are in a bit of a rush, of course, you don't have to do that extra step. This is an absolute party dish in my home. It's only made on special occasions like someone's birthday, an anniversary or Diwali. It's really one of those dishes that my brother and I used to look forward to, and I could tell that it was being made in the house because it would fill up the whole home and would make us very hungry until it was dinner time. Now this has been really mixed and it looks really beautiful. We're going to add some water and then we're going to pop it in the oven. So you want enough water to just cover everything in the pan. Roughly about 700 mils will do it. It does speed things up if you have a kettle at home. Okay, this is smelling divine. One last thing that we're going to do before we pop it in the oven is to just tweak it, because we are going to add some spinach to this later on and we want to make sure the seasoning's perfect. So the salt should be slightly on the sharper side so it does take care of the spinach that we add later on. So to this I'm just going to add in half a teaspoon of salt. It is according to taste, so feel free to tweak. I'm also going to sharpen up the chili side of things as well and add about a quarter teaspoon of chili powder. And to balance everything out, I'm also going to add in half a teaspoon of sugar. So So just give that a quick mix. Now, in terms of that tweaking stage, it will really depend on how strong your master masala is. If you've made it quite spicy and it's slightly sharper on the salty side already, then you won't need to tweak quite as much at this stage. And when you make this balak gosht more often, you'll get more comfortable and confident with that whole tasting and tweaking stage. It just comes from experience and cooking the same dish over and over again. And it's going to go into an oven that's been preheated at 240 degrees for 10 minutes. So the lamb is now doing its thing in the oven. And to be honest with you, that is an absolutely delicious lamb curry on its own. But we are making balak gosht, and balak is the word for spinach. So now we're going to create a delicious and vibrant spinach paste, and we're going to add that to our lamb. So we're going to use fresh baby spinach. You can also use frozen if you like, but this is nice and fresh. I've got baby spinach here. I'm just going to wilt it down with a little bit of water. So maybe just about 100 mils or so of water. And we're going to cook down our spinach until it's nice and soft. So we'll just let this cook down. It only takes a few minutes for the spinach leaves to wilt down and soften. And then we'll cool it down and grind it into a paste. Now, if you are running low on time, you can of course just add fresh spinach into your lamb curry towards the end of the cooking time. But if you like that nice sort of smooth, rich, green looking lamb curry, you will want to make it into a paste first and then add it to your lamb. Okay, so spinach is now wilted down. This has just taken about 3 or 4 minutes. I don't want to overcook it. I'm going to put this back into the bowl to allow it to cool down. Okay, the timer for 10 minutes has just gone off, so we're now going to reduce the heat to 180 and we're going to set the timer for 25 minutes. So the spinach has now cooled down to room temperature. We're going to blitz it into a nice smooth paste using a food processor. Okay, the lamb's been cooking for 25 minutes, the timer's gone off. Let's have a look at it. Ooh, really, really delicious. Now it's time to add our spinach. Give this a good mix. You can see that the sauce has thickened, and now adding this spinach paste is going to add this lovely green hue to our balak gosht. Okay, let's pop that lid back on, and in this goes back into the oven. We just need to set the timer for 10 minutes and then this will be ready. Okay, the 10 minutes are up, which means that it's time to serve up. Let's have a look. Ooh, this smells and looks perfect. So I'm gonna give this a mix. Oh, you can see the consistency of the masala is just perfect. The lamb and potato pieces are almost glazed in that beautiful spinach curry. This masala is often known as the gravy in India, and it just refers to that thick sauce. Now, one thing that I will just show you as well is how beautifully cooked the lamb is. So let's get a piece here. So we have melt-in-mouth lamb that was cooked in the oven for no longer than 45 minutes, which is pretty impressive. So that kiwi paste really does help with the acceleration process to get that lamb nice and tender. Now in India, this balak gosht is actually cooked with mutton or goat. So if you can get your hands on either of those two meats, they work really well with this recipe as well. We're going to finish this dish off with one of my favourite spices, which is called kasuri methi. This is sun-dried fenugreek. It is optional, but it adds a lot and lifts this dish. So we're going to go for 3 generous pinches. And one thing that's important to do is actually use your fingertips to break the leaves into more of a powder before you sprinkle it onto the balak gosht. So in that goes. I'm now going to give this a mix, and then we're going to finish off with a little bit of cream just to garnish and make everything pop. Garnishing this is reminding me of service at my pop-up dining events. This lamb and spinach curry was a favourite amongst my guests and was actually eventually voted the signature dish and was served up every single event. Our luscious spinach and lamb curry is now ready to be tucked into. Serve this at your next dinner party, and if you have any leftovers, though I'm doubtful, it tastes even better the next day. Enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson of the secrets of how to cook Indian food. Be sure to check out my other episodes. I'm Monica Haldar. See you next time.